Hi, I'm Bill. Let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed that you can get hard, but you can't stay hard? It works at first, the desire's there, the arousal starts, and then it fades, and you're left wondering, what just happened? This is one of the most frustrating experiences a man can have, because it's not that your body doesn't work. It clearly does, at least at first. So why does it stop working? Yeah, I dealt with that too. I could start just fine, but somewhere in the middle, I noticed myself starting to soften. And the moment I noticed it, the anxiety would kick in. Oh no, it's happening again. I need to stay hard. What if I lose it completely? And of course, the more I focused on it, the worse it was. The more I worried about losing it, the faster I lost it. Let me show you what's really happening and why it has nothing to do with your body being broken. Now, before we go any further, I need to say something really important. If this is happening to you consistently, the first thing you should do is talk to your doctor. Not because I think you're broken, but because the same symptom, difficulty maintaining an erection, can have both psychological and physical causes. Cardiovascular issues, diabetes, hormone imbalances, and even some medications can cause that. And those need to be ruled out first. A good doctor will run blood work, he'll check your cardiovascular health, and make sure there's nothing medical going on. Now, once you've ruled out physical causes, or your doctor says everything looks fine physically, that's when what I'm about to teach you becomes essential. Because if it's not physical, it's almost always what I'm about to explain. But you need to know which one you're dealing with. So if you haven't already, get checked out first. Then come back to this. Okay, now assuming you've ruled out medical issues or your doctors confirm that it's performance anxiety, here is what is actually happening. If you're dealing with this, you've probably noticed a pattern. Things start well, you get aroused, you're engaged, everything seems to be working. Then at some point, you notice yourself starting to soften. And that's when everything changes. The moment you notice it, your attention shifts and you're no longer in the experience, you're monitoring the experience. Am I still hard? Am I getting softer? How much time do I have left before this becomes a problem? And every one of those thoughts pulls you further out of the moment, further away from arousal and deeper into anxiety. Here's something most men don't understand. Staying hard requires continuous arousal. It's not like a switch you flip once and it stays on. No, it's more like a flame. You have to keep feeding it. And the fuel for that flame is presence, connection, sensation, being in your body. The moment you shift into monitoring mode, you're evaluating yourself, worrying about yourself, you stop feeding that flame. And without fuel, it goes out. Not because your body's broken, but because your attention left. Think about it this way. Have you ever been fully absorbed in something like reading a book or watching a movie, having a deep conversation, and completely lost track of time? That's presence. Your attention is fully engaged. You're not watching yourself have the experience. You are the experience. That's the state arousal requires. But the moment you step back and start monitoring, am I still absorbed? Am I enjoying this enough? What if I lose interest? The absorption breaks. The same thing happens with arousal. As long as you're present, feeling sensation, experiencing connection, engaged in the moment, arousal sustains itself. But the moment you start monitoring, am I still hard? Am I hard enough? What if I lose it? Then the arousal starts to fade. Not because your body stopped working, but because your attention shifted from experience to evaluation. I know this because I lived it. I'd start fine, everything would be working, but at some point, usually when I started worrying about whether or not I would last, I began to soften. And then the real problem would start. Because the moment I noticed I was softening, I'd panic, not outwardly, but inwardly. Not again. I need to stay hard. What can I do to fix this? And every one of those thoughts was like throwing water on a fire. More monitoring, more anxiety, less arousal. Okay, here's what does not work. Trying to force yourself to stay hard. That's effort, that's pressure, and that kills arousal. Thinking about something else to maintain your arousal. That's distraction. You're still not present and you're not experiencing. Worrying about how much time you have left, that's anxiety. That's monitoring. That's the opposite of arousal. Checking to see if you're still hard. Well, that's literally the problem. You're evaluating instead of experiencing. All of these are attempts to control something that only works when you stop trying to control it. So, what actually works? You have to understand what's happening. Arousal isn't just physical, it's not just blood flow. Arousal is a state of nervous system activation combined with mental presence. Your parasympathetic nervous system, your rest and relax mode, needs to be active for blood flow to work. And your attention needs to be present for arousals to sustain. When either of those breaks, that's when you shift into stress mode. Or when your attention shifts to monitoring, your arousal fades. Not because your body's broken, but because the conditions for arousal are no longer present. So, the solution isn't to force yourself to stay hard. The solution is to maintain the conditions that allow arousal to sustain itself. Here's what that looks like. First, notice when your attention shifts to monitoring. The moment you catch yourself thinking, am I still hard? Am I getting softer? Just notice it. Oh, I'm monitoring again. No judgment, no frustration, just awareness. Second, bring your attention back to the sensation. Not, I'm trying to get hard again, but what you actually feel. What do you feel in your body right now? What sensations are present? This isn't about forcing arousal. It's about returning to presence. Third, let go of the outcome. This is the hardest part. Because when you notice yourself softening, every instinct says, fix this, make it work, stay hard. But that's outcome focus. That's control. That's pressure. And pressure is the opposite of arousal. So instead, you practice letting go. Whatever happens, happens. I'm here. I'm present. I'm experiencing this moment. That's surrender. That letting go of control is what allows arousal to return. Not because you forced it, but because you stopped interfering with it. When I first started practicing this, that felt impossible. The moment I'd start to soften, panic would set in, and my whole body would tense up, trying to prevent what was happening, which, of course, that only made it worse. But I kept practicing. Notice the monitoring, return to sensation, let go of the outcome again and again. And over time, something shifted. The softening would happen, but instead of panicking, I'd notice it. Oh, I'm getting soft again. And then I'd bring my attention back to the sensations, back to the presence, back into the experience, and more often than not, the arousal would return. Not because I forced it, but because I stopped interrupting it with panic and monitoring. Well, hey, sometimes it didn't come back. And I learned that that was okay too, because the goal isn't about perfect performance every time. The goal is being present, experiencing, connecting. And when that's the goal, there's no such thing as failure. There's only experience. Let me bring this all together. So, if you can get hard, but you can't stay hard, it's not because your body is broken. It's because somewhere in the middle, your attention shifts from experiencing to monitoring, from presence to evaluation. And the moment that shift happens, arousal begins to fade. The fix isn't forcing yourself to stay hard. It's noticing when you shift into monitoring mode. And then you gently bring yourself back to the presence, back to the sensation, back to the experience. Here's what you can practice. The next time you start noticing yourself starting to soften, pause. Notice that you're monitoring. Then ask, what do I actually feel right now? Not am I hard enough, but what sensations are present in my body? That shift from evaluation to experience is what allows arousal to sustain. Now, this is, of course, just one piece of understanding how your mind and your body work together. In my full program, I'll teach you how to recognize when you're shifting into monitoring mode. Practices that develop sustained presence. Nervous system techniques that support continuous arousal. How to let go of outcome focus. It's a complete system for working with your body instead of fighting it. The link is in the description below. Okay, now, if this video helped you understand what's really happening, please click subscribe so you don't miss any of my future videos. Because in some of my future videos, I'll cover more about how to stay present during intimacy and why that's the real key to sustained arousal. So, I'll see you there.